Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to our homestead. Welcome to our greenhouse. It is mid-April and it is the perfect time to plant. We're going to be talking about all the things you should be planting right now in Zone 8B in April. Let's get going. Okay, basically I'm going to be talking about two different categories. One are transplants and the other is direct seeding. So for transplants, it's a perfect time to get them out into the garden. Some of them, like eggplants and peppers and tomatoes, could have already come outside in the last 30 days because this is dependent on your last frost date. And ours here in Zone 8B, East Texas, is about March 15th. Although this year it was a little cold. So I'm glad I put those transplants out in my greenhouse instead of out in the garden. I would have had to wait about another week or so before I could have gotten them in the garden. But we have other things going out into that garden this year, and we've got behind us, as you can see, our eggplants and our peppers. Now I did attempt to overwinter some peppers. This one is looking fine. Hopefully it resprouts. It had sprouted before and hopefully it does it again. This one, this big one, was looking good and then it suddenly died off, which is why I did start some new ones this year. Same thing with overwintering our eggplants. This did have a bud on it earlier, but it died off. Redundancy is important for me just in case the overwintered ones don't work, and that's why I started these inside. You can see our tomatoes are about 2 to 3 feet tall already, and they're rock and rolling already. They've already got flowers. Hopefully we've got enough bees to get those pollinated properly. April is the perfect time to plant a lot here in Zone 8B, Texas, but it does get hot kind of quick. So it's very targeted on what we plant in April. If you're Zone 8B up in the Pacific Northwest, it's going to be different. We talked about our transplants, our eggplants, peppers, and tomatoes. Now let's talk about ones that we can direct seed into the garden. The number one thing to get in right now, because it is so hardy and you can really plant them densely and get a lot of crop out of it, are beans. We've got our favorite Blue Lake green beans right here, and we've got our Blue Lake pole beans. Another thing that I'm actually going to wait another week to week and a half for is our southern peas. And these are essentially a bean. They are a legume, and these need a little bit warmer temperature. So we're gonna hold off because we've actually had a beautiful spring here in East Texas. It didn't jump from cold to blistering hot. Okay, the next two that you should be getting in the garden, in the ground right now, are squash and melons. Now we did this about 3 days ago and they haven't germinated and come up yet, but this is the perfect time to plant both of these. Now when you're talking about squash, I'm also talking about pumpkins. In this container, I've got some Hopi gray squash, which is a squash that is the longest lasting after you pick it off the vine. It will last for months on the countertop with no issue at all. Of course, included in those categories, and we do some seed saving, we've got some butternut squash here, and we've got our watermelon. And something else I really need to get in the ground and I need to pick up, I didn't realize I ran out of seeds, are summer squash. Of course, things like your pumpkins and your butternut are winter squash. They go in at the same time. Your summer squashes are your yellow crookneck squash, your zucchinis, and things like that. So I love leafy greens, and not many grow in the super hot southern climate, but two of them you can do, and one of those is summer Bibb lettuce. This is a really great heat-tolerant lettuce. I got these from MI Gardener, and they grow wonderfully. We've got some beautiful heads out in the garden. There is another one that a lot of people don't really know about, but we do here in the South, that you can plant right now and get a great harvest because it loves the heat and it loves the cold. And that is collard greens. These are from Southern Exposure Seed Company. They really sweeten up nicely in the cool weather, and I've had them through the middle of a hot 100-degree summer here in East Texas. So that's another real blessing that you can have another leafy green to eat during the summer. Actually, there is a third, and it's on my list, and I forgot to mention that, and that is mustard greens. They behave very similar to the collard greens in growing through the really hot summer months and into the cooler months. Interestingly, there is something else that you can plant at this time. Most people plant it in the cooler months, but you can still plant it right now with no problem, and that is radish. They grow so quick, and you can succession plant so many of them. You can go into the little bit warmer months like May and even early June. So if you want more radishes, you can certainly get them in the ground now. All right, let's go to my daughter's favorite, and that is cucumbers. Perfect time for cucumbers. Get them in, get as many of them in the ground as possible. Because actually when it gets too hot, they can get really bitter. So mid-April is perfect. You can actually back that up to the beginning of April. And they do grow quite quickly and vigorously. You can still plant them with no problem here in mid-April. Now here's something that people usually view as a cold weather crop, and that is Swiss chard that I've planted with no problem and has lasted me throughout our hot summers. Now, I do have to keep it shaded, but goes through the heat here in East Texas with not an issue. I've actually had some chard plants out in the garden without much shade that have lasted for 3 years. So like the collard greens, they don't really mind that fluctuation in temperature. Okay, everybody's asking, can I plant okra right now? No, absolutely not. It will not germinate. It's just a little too cool. So hold off your okra till late May, maybe even early June, because it loves the heat. And it needs temperatures in the soil of at least 80 up to 95 degrees. Additionally, those southern peas that I talked about earlier, like black-eyed peas, these are Texas cream zipper peas. Those you can plant in the dead of summer here with no issue, and they love the heat. But you can plant them right now and they will come up. Succession planting these throughout the year is really a good idea. I just wanted to mention that okra because I want you to have success. And I've had poor success, and I'm sharing my experience with you if I plant them out too early. Now let's talk about some other southern favorites that down here in Zone 8B, if you've got sandy soil, they are absolutely going to thrive and love it. And one of those is peanuts. These are peanuts we grew here on the property, and we're going to put them back in the ground this year. I'm going to wait maybe another week for these, but April is the perfect time to plant these. They really do well here in the South, and they're really famous for being grown in the South. And who doesn't love peanuts? The next one we haven't gotten in the ground yet, and we need to do that. But we're having a little bit of a struggle trying to get it going, and that is sweet potatoes. And you can see here I'm growing the slips off the top of this Japanese purple sweet potato. We wanted to do these this year because the polyphenols that are contained within these dark purple sweet potatoes are insanely good for you. Much better than the orange ones, although the orange ones are also very good for you. But we're trying these out and we're struggling with them a little bit to get them to go. So luckily I can still, once these slips are big enough, get these out into the garden, maybe in another 3 weeks or so, give or take, and it should still be perfect. But if you've got some regular sweet potato slips, get them into the ground right now. It's a great time. And the last one, another southern classic that not many people think about that we like to make syrup from, and that is sorghum. Sorry, it's in my little case here. This is Rock's Orange Syrup Sorghum. I know some other growing zones to the north and some northern states do grow sorghum, but it's usually grain sorghum. This is a little bit different variety, and it can be used to make that beautiful syrup. I've actually done a video on how to make sorghum syrup. If you are interested in how to do that, click on this video up here. Okay, that's everything that you can plant or should plant right now in April in Zone 8B in Texas. But before you move on to our next video, like the okra, I wanted to mention too that some people say you can plant at this time that honestly just do not work. And that is Irish potatoes and onions. Both of those here in Zone 8B Texas need to be in the ground in mid to late February. Because if it gets too hot, you're going to really affect the tuber growth on the potatoes and the bulb growth on the onions. The potatoes especially are not heat tolerant, but there are some varieties of onions that are called short day onions that you could plant at this time, but you never know how hot the weather is going to get here and how quickly it does do that. Now behind me, these types of onions do not mind the heat. These are a Filipino variety of onion. They just give you the green stalks, no bulbs. And then over here in front of me are our Egyptian walking onions that were sent to me by a really nice subscriber. Both of those have been adapted for the heat and don't mind the heat, but they don't bulb. You just get the green leaves. So that's it. That's what you should be planting right now. If you have any questions, please leave them for me in the comments section below. Now go check out this series of videos right here, which shows you how we built this greenhouse by ourselves. Have a beautiful, blessed day. See you next time. Bye.